Happy Monday, everybody. How are you all? It's Michelle Lloyd here, founder of United Art Space. And I just realized we have loads of new people following, so I'll just quickly introduce myself. So I run United Art Space. I founded it 4 years ago, roughly. And we help artists or people who love making art, because a lot of people are afraid to call themselves artists. We help people who love making art, make art they love, and help them turn it into a living of some kind. And so every Monday I go live with top tips. And today I had a great question inside my hub membership group. So we have members of United Art Space who get access to our hub, where we help them take steps towards making art their living. And we had a great question come in from an artist, and it's one that I know is very popular, so I thought I'd talk about it today. And that is, what do I do if someone copies my work? Or steps back from that question, which is what the member was asking me, was how do I get over that fear of not wanting to put myself out there because I'm so afraid of someone copying my work? And this is a really, really valid fear, because when you have poured your heart and soul into making artwork, into learning, into all the research, into the materials that you've spent, and it's so personal, it's taken you so long, and it puts you in a vulnerable situation, because it is scary then when you put yourself out there and you think, what is stopping someone just copying everything that I've done? And I felt the same fear with what I put out into the world. So I've worked really hard on United Art Space and the lessons and all the content that I've learned over the years, and I put it out there. And I had the same fears, like, what if someone just comes and copies everything that I do? And here's some things that I've learned along the way to help with that fear. Because if we do let that fear stop us, and one of my members who asked this question said, I'm not putting anything on Instagram because I'm so afraid of being copied. And so here's how to break it down. And there's some steps to safeguard yourself as well from people copying. But if we just think rationally for a moment, art is inspiring to people, and you will have looked at other people, or maybe you haven't, but usually you will have looked to other artists, and we imitate. We use other people's ideas. Nothing is new in life. If you look at fashion, if you look at anything, design, art, we are always inspired by other people who, it would have been taken from somewhere else, and it's not someone's unique creation. Whether we realize it or not, we are borrowing ideas and inspiration from people, from nature. But we do look at other artists, and that's how we've learned from artists before us. That's how we know how to use paints, how we know how to apply marks, because we've looked at people before us. So there will always be an element of people looking at your work and replicating it. There always will be. Now, ethically speaking, if you're using other people's work as inspiration, you would either credit them or you use it in personal, and you use it in your sketchbook and you play around with the idea, and then you'll use someone else's. And so what happens as an artist then is someone might copy you, but they'll copy someone else and they'll copy someone else, and it forms their own voice. They'll find their own way. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think accepting that. So I have people copying me all the time. And I see things crop up, and I know that people have, used things. But, for me, I don't have a massive problem with it anymore. I used to. Now, of course, I would have a problem with someone saying, I run United Art Space and I've got the 7 Keys course. And that's what I'm going to come on to in a minute, is another type of copying. But people finding their own voice and stumbling across you is going to happen. And I think when you accept that, it kind of releases some of that fear of putting yourself out there. And of course, there's some things you can do to safeguard your work, and that is by using the copyright symbol. And that's what I do, and everything is copywritten. I'm going to be trademarking all of my stuff in the next few weeks, because I've never done that before. And as an artist, you know, you can state those copyright rules on your website, and you can also on your website use images that are 72 dpi dots per inch, and that will stop people taking your artwork from your website, because you can't do anything with a 72 dpi image. Now, Facebook and Instagram shrink images automatically. It doesn't stop someone just taking the artwork and replicating it or scanning it. And that's the next point I wanted to get to, is there are people out there that will take your credit card and fraudulently use your credit card or fraudulently use your ID. And unfortunately that happens, but it doesn't stop us using cars. It doesn't stop us having a name or an identity or an address, but we are putting ourselves at risk. So I say this because there is a risk with everything that we do in life, you know, and especially as we're moving into a digital world. But we can't worry about things until they happen. We can do things to prevent them from happening. But if we worry about every little thing that could go wrong or everything that might happen, then we wouldn't really take any steps forward in life. And I know that I'm saying this flippantly because you might have had things happen before where someone has used your credit card, it has made you wary, and that does create more fear inside. But in all the years that I've worked with artists, there's probably 10 that I know that have had someone copy their work and they've had to take steps to do something about it. It happens a lot in the design world where there have been designers and a retailer, a big retailer will come along and copy their design. I've seen it happen, and they've put it onto their products. There are steps you can take though to regain that and to protect your artwork. And I know that people have taken these retailers to court, and the thing is now on social media, you can name and shame people. So there was an artist, and I can't remember her name. She had this happen to her. It was about 2 years ago, and a big retailer copied her artwork. She'd got a big following of people. Everyone knew it was her artwork, and she named and shamed them and said, this retailer has copied my artwork, and it went viral and everyone was outraged and sharing it, and the retailer took the artwork down, reimbursed her, you know. So if it did happen, there are things that you can do to protect yourself, but I don't think it's a good idea to hold back in case it happens, because it might never happen. That's what you've got to say to yourself. I could put my artwork out there and no one might ever steal it. You might not ever experience it. But if they do, there are things that you can do to take the artwork down. And one thing I'll also say on the back of that is, you know, if it is a person copying you, then they haven't found their own voice. Now, if it's an individual and they are using your artwork and you've noticed that they've been following you and then all of a sudden their artwork is changing just to be like yours, I can guarantee you they won't get anywhere. It will be short-lived. I've seen it happen before. I've seen it's happened to me. It's going to happen, you know, especially when you're really fine-tuning your own artwork and you're doing well. But what they're missing is all the foundational pieces to make art a living, which is what we teach inside the hub. They don't have a why. They don't know why they made that artwork because they copied it from you. They don't understand what the artwork means. They don't really understand what it is. So, you know, I run the hub, and we know how these steps, the 7 keys, are fundamental to making art your living. Without them, you know, you can't really get very far. So imagine how hard it is for someone who's copied. They can't really get very far with copying. And that's what you have to remind yourself. And that's what I remind myself is, anyone that copies me, that they don't have all the years of why behind what I do. They don't have the experience that I have, so they're not really going to get very far. And it's the same with artists. It's the same with someone who's just copied your artwork. They don't have any substance. They don't have anything behind it. So what I've found is, and I've seen, you know, when I was at uni, it used to happen. I worked with artists who, I've seen it even inside my own group. I've seen people see an artist and all of a sudden they're kind of like change, and then it fizzles out because it's missing that passion and that why, which is what we teach inside the hub. So that's all we can do, is reassure ourselves of these things, that if someone copies us, they're not going to get very far. If it is a big person or a retailer that's really taken, I was going to swear then, but taken advantage, let's say, there are things that you can do. You can send them a letter of, I can never say this word, it's cease and desist, I think. And Maria Brophy has even got a template on her website. She's an art coach, and she has a template on her website where you can craft a letter to send to people to say, you have used my artwork. But in the grand scheme of things, if it's stopping you from putting yourself out there, it's something that you need to address. And I'm glad that the member brought this up today, because there are ways that you can bring perspective to this, because the chances of it happening are really, really small, not big enough to stop you from putting yourself out there and being the artist that you're meant to be and making your own living. You know, the chances are small. If it does happen, then know that you can do something about it. You know, it'll be unpleasant, it won't be very nice, but you can do something about it. I would refrain from putting big like copyright marks across your artwork. It doesn't look very nice, and it actually doesn't really stop people. So I just like a neat little copyright at the bottom, because I find that when you put the big copyright symbols across the middle of your artwork, it actually detracts your buyers. It kind of puts people off. And I've seen it before, and I kind of can't work out what's the artwork and what's the copyright. And it causes them more confusion for your buyers, your potential people, in wondering, does that come with the artwork? What part is the artwork? What isn't? So you don't have to do that. You can literally just put the copyright quietly in the bottom, just so it's clear. But, you know, I know lots of artists that once they become established, they don't put the copyright symbol, because it is known. If you're an artist and you're making artwork, it is your copyright. That's just the way it goes. And like I say, I've worked with so many artists now who are making such a big living, and it has never, ever happened to them. So I'm going to jump to the comments. If you've got any questions on this topic, let me know. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Hello, Leah, Angie, Michelle. Hello, Linda, Laura, Gemma. How are you? I haven't seen you for ages. How are you? How's your course going? Hello, Paul, an artist friend. I like that. Morning, Karen. Hello, Jenny, Ida. Jenny's tuning in from Stratford upon Avon. That's a place I've always wanted to go to. Very wet County Kerry. It's kind of cloudy here. Hello, Paula. Bhavana, hello. Arty Farty fans from Chrissy. Francesca, Sharon, Nikki, hello everyone. Linda, lovely to see you. Hello, Marita. I bet it's late where you are now, if there's an hour's difference as well. Everything's back to normal, Julie. Yes, I'm back. For my motivational Monday chat. I love it. Barbie's tuning in from Canada. Hello, Hannah. It's sunny. Hello, Dave. But there's snow on the mountains. Oh, wow, that sounds incredible. There's so many people. I can't say hello to all of you. So just a big, big hello. It's lovely to have you all here. It really is. Jenny Wren. Hello, Jenny. Just experienced this at the weekend. Someone in one of my art groups said they are going to copy my painting. Wasn't sure how to take it. I would take it as a compliment. But if someone has said that, you are well within your rights to say, oh, I would word it like this. I'm so flattered that that you would like to use my words as inspiration. If you do use it, then I would like some, just please do credit me. Here's my link to my social media. You could say something along those lines, just to stand your ground. Or if someone does copy you outright, they don't actually have the right to share that on social media at all, actually. So it just depends. I think one thing I will say, and this is a great thing that you've just brought up, Jenny, is the less defensive we can be, the better we can handle situations. So I've had it happen to me before, and I've seen it, and I'm like, I can feel the anger, thinking, I just spent hours doing that, and you've just copied me. And I'm like, my first instinct is to growl, like, but don't reply in that instant when you're emotionally charged. Just take a step back and wait till you've simmered down and then send a response, because the more you can take the emotion out of it and just reply and just say, thank you, but, and just say it in a really nice way, you can often diffuse a situation really quickly. Whenever you reply to someone angrily, it just makes them angry, and then everything escalates. And so that's one thing I would say. Yeah. And some people just don't know, so it's okay to state the ground and say, yeah, thank you so much for being inspired. I just have to gently remind you that, the work is copyright. So I'd appreciate if you could just keep it personal in your own sketchbook and not share it on social media. So whatever you're comfortable with. Gillian, fantastic topic. Thank you. You're very welcome. Yes, Angela. Yeah, it all depends on the context. If they are copying for fun or practice, it's absolutely fine. It's when they copy to sell, yes, that there's an issue. And when that's the case, they usually don't tell you about it, as they are usually, no, it's wrong. They do, yes. You're right, Angela. And sometimes, in the instance of my friend who I spoke about earlier, she literally just saw it on a product and it was a direct copy of her work. So you can imagine how angry she was. When she saw that, and they are profiting in a massive way because it was a big retailer and it was going out to thousands of people. But she won the case and they had to pay the price. So Al's saying, yeah, I had this happen a few weeks ago. They copied my Owl series. I told them to change their design and they did. So it does happen, yeah. And they have no imagination. You're right, Al. And I think that's something to know, is that you can do something about it, and like Al's just said there, that they went back and asked them to change it and they did. But like I say, they're not going to get very far. The comments have just jumped down. I'm just going back up. Hold on. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, copycats can legally get into trouble. Yeah, it can. Yeah. It is a big thing. So Jenny's saying, yeah, thank you, Angela. It kind of freaked me out a little bit at first, but then I thought maybe I should take it as a compliment. It is a compliment. Maybe it will help them to learn, as I used to learn from other artists. Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying here. And some people, I think sometimes we forget as well that some people literally just don't know. I have so many questions about copyright, and some people who are just learning do copy, and even not the beginners. Sharon says all the time she's been making art for 25 years. She still looks to other artists and copies what they're doing, imitates, but she will, copy from other artists and figure out how they've made something and then adapt it and use it in her own way. So we do it all the time. But Angela's right. It's when someone then copies you and then passes that off as their own idea and their own work that it's completely wrong. But it does happen. It does. But it is few and far between, but also you can do something about it. So that is the way I'd alleviate the fear, to stop yourself from not putting yourself out there, that if it does happen, I can do something about it. And knowing that other people have gone through the same thing, you can get advice as well. Hi, Colin. Oh, Colin, I've just seen one of your comments. I'm going to read this one now. I've just seen one of your comments in the hub, and it absolutely made my day. I found out about copying with various rock bands I've been involved in. It doesn't happen. I've been fortunate enough to be in bands which had big record companies trying to sign us. It all fell through due to our disorganisation, but the songs we sent to publishers or put online have never been copied. I guess it's too much hassle. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So sometimes, I mean, I know some artists, it's never ever happened to them. They've never ever had anything happen. And then for some people, it can. So it really, but like I said before, in life, there is risk with everything that we do. Like we know that our debit cards can be copied and used, but yet we take the risk because the risk is there, but it's small. And there is something that we can do about it if it happens. And so it's thinking that way. And so, yeah, just going back to Colin's comment, I got this today, I just saw this today, about you writing your why. So inside the hub, we do 7 keys together, and you understanding your why is one important thing. And you just said that I've just discovered some stuff that explains who I am and why I do the things. Be careful. It's very powerful. It just made my day today, Colin, reading that. So glad you're making progress. Annette said that was the first big lesson I learned on the hub. Don't overdo the watermark copyright. Amazing. Hello, Amanda. Hello, Jules. Great answer to the question of copying an artist's work. So thanks for that. Best wishes. You're welcome, James. I'm glad it helped. Siobhan says, I've had my style copied by an artist doing banners, and it was so obvious to me. His style changed during the time of our collaboration. I was annoyed at the time. I realise now it was unconscious and it was a compliment to me, although it would have been good to be acknowledged. You've just made a great point there as well, that some people aren't aware that they're doing it. I had this at art school where there was another lady and she was blatantly copying, but she actually didn't realise it, because when we're surrounded, and this happens a lot when you work in groups with other artists, what you're seeing goes into your subconscious. You know, you're seeing things. And if you're seeing another artist daily and you're seeing their work, it's kind of like default that you'll end up, you know, creating something. You think, where did that come from? And that's just what we do as humans, isn't it? We're taking things in, things that really stand out to us and inspire us. So some people aren't even aware that they're doing it. But some people are. They're blatantly, they see your work and they go, I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to pass it off as my own and try and make money from it. But I can tell you something, they are not going to get anywhere. They might make a little bit, but they're not going to make a sustainable living. Sophia, indeed, I find it difficult to upload painting in full. I do feel like everybody can take it and make a print of it or whatever. So yes, I have these questions too. So hopefully this has alleviated a little bit of fear, Sophia, in the fact that if you shrink your images down, they can't take prints from them. And then what's left is for them to trace it, draw it. But like I go back to, they won't have any of the foundational 7 keys. We know how hard it is to make a living. You know, it's not easy to make a sustainable living from art without the 7 keys that we teach. So if someone else hasn't got those, they're not going to get very far. And if you hold back putting yourself out there, you're refraining yourself from making a living. So I think that bring it back to, what do I need to do to protect my images, to protect myself? There's only so much that you can do, and then you've just got to get going and then know if something happens, these are the steps that I need to take. And maybe I need to write a lesson for this in the hub so that you've got a checklist of, if this happens to me, this is what I do. And then you know that you've got that lesson there if anything does happen. Hello, Mike. Hello, Catherine. I love some people are chatting because they're all in the same location. Um, Hello, Jeanette. Jeanette's tuning in from Australia. Julie says, from early in my life, I've always had other people copy me. I've always taken it as a compliment. That's nice. I saw a post on an artist page about someone who copied one of their artworks and sold it. She developed a relationship with and said the artist by being polite. Okay, yes. And now they are really good friends and promote one another's artwork. What a lovely story. She was cross at first, but gave them the benefit and she was so pleased. Yeah, this goes back to my point of simmering down and trying, if you can resolve anything in a nice way without getting too defensive, then things like that can happen. I mean, how amazing is that? That, you know, you can collaborate with someone if someone's a bit further along, possibly. You just don't know, do you? Oh, I like this one. So Jules said, yeah, I had someone in Instagram immediately copy my miniature duck picture. I was upset, but then let it go as they weren't of a high standard and maybe she didn't have any ideas of her own. It's probably likely, yeah, took it as a compliment in the end. And if you have someone like that, you know, just keep them on your radar maybe. And then if it keeps happening, you can do something about it. Siobhan says, I was asked to do a copy of an artwork recently. It's the first time I have ever copied someone's work. I would never do that again as it didn't feel right using someone's work. I acknowledged publicly that it wasn't my work. And I asked the person who had asked me to do this if they knew the artist's name so I could acknowledge their work. I'll never do that again as it was totally going against my instinct to be original. Yeah, and it is actually, it is against copyright law. So yeah, if anyone does bring you an artist's work and asks you to copy it, then yeah, it's the best practice to say no, because unless you've got the permission of the artist, you could get into big trouble. So yeah, Siobhan, you're right, aren't you? You know it's feeling wrong as well, so you know when it feels wrong. Thank you, Minnie. Minnie's going to dig out a blog post about assumptions and compassion. Yeah, that would be a great one to share. If you could dig that out, Minnie, I'll share that out with everybody. Because I know from experience, you know, how angry it can make you when someone's copied you. And it's hard to be compassionate when someone's outrightly just copied you and you spent hours on something. But yeah, Thomasina's right. They will get bored when someone does something that's not them. It is short lived, and they'll have a bit of inspiration, and then they get tired. So Nikki's asking, you advise us to use images at 72 DPI. How do we convert images to that? So Nikki, inside the hub, there is a lesson on this. If you go to the 15-minute how-to lesson, there's a lesson on how to get your images ready for the web. And there's 2 apps that we recommend using. There's one called Canva, where you can import your images and change. There's one called PicMonkey, which you can use for free. And then, of course, there's lots of photo editing apps as well that you can use on your phone as well to reduce the quality down. So Jeanette's asking another question. So what happens if you think you're painting your own and then look on Pinterest or elsewhere and it looks like yours? Do you change it or just leave it as it is? So nothing is new, and there will always be something similar to what we do. And as long as you have been creating work that comes from a place of inspiration and you have, you know, not evidence, but, you know, you've done work to prove that, you know, that you've taken inspiration from here, you've taken it from here, then that, you know, as long as you know that, you know, I've done my part, I've been researching, I've been doing things, then that's enough. I did a session the other week on keeping a sketchbook for that very reason. So when you show where your ideas have come from, so that you know that you haven't just copied someone, then, you know, you will see other people that have a similar look of work to you. So stick to what you do and make sure that you have sourced your inspiration and your ideas from different places, then I wouldn't purposely change yourself because someone else does something similar to you. Hopefully that's answered your question. Yeah, so Mike's made a good point here because yeah, because Mike is a designer, so so let's just go back to that point of someone bringing an artwork saying, "Can you copy this?" You know, if it's a painting or something like that, that's usually like a, you know, I can't do that. If it, especially if the artist is still selling it, if it's like an artist from the past, you know, then I've known people replicate those kinds of artworks. Again, you have to check the copyright, but off the record, you know, if it's, there's so many grey areas on this. If it's for something that you're using in the house, so I've had this asked before, if you're taking a Disney image, Disney will not, like, you know, they clamp down on people using their images. But if you were painting something for a nursery and you were never going to put it anywhere, you're not going to tell anyone about it, and it's literally just for that bedroom, no one's ever going to know, then, you know, that's how people get away with it. Because I've had people ask before, what about, you know, the murals in people's bedrooms? But yeah, like Micah said here, though, that in the design world, it does happen where people will take a design and say, can you make me something like this? You know, I've briefed designers before for things like that and said, you know, I love this design. Can you make me something like this? And like Mike says, then what's important is that you are adapting that. So it's not a direct copy of the design, that the artist will then, or the designer will come back with a version. So it had the same kind of feeling, but created in a different way. So yeah, there's a grey area. Right, okay, we've got someone spamming. Yeah, I can do that now. I can block them and delete them. Don't worry, delete you. Bye-bye. They've gone now. Thank you, Angela. Oh, Carolina, hello. This is a bit off topic, but I just wanted to thank you, Michelle. I just exhibited some of my work for the first time, and your lovely encouragement has played a big part in this. Oh, thank you. That's lovely. Thank you. I'm really glad, and well done for you for doing your first exhibition. Amazing. It's amazing when you do that for the first time. I remember my first exhibition. It's so lovely having your work up and taking that first step. I'm just reading this comment from Denise. I've made drawings and photos of famous sculpture, mainly to improve my technical skills. Yeah, and it motivates me. Nothing wrong with that. So have they breached copyright too? So I've made drawings from photos of famous sculpture, mainly to improve my technical skills. So Denise, on this, it's a tricky one, this one, because you're not actually recreating the sculpture, you're kind of creating the drawing from the sculpture. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with creating a drawing from a sculpture. And in fact, when you go to art galleries, they kind of, I went to Wolverhampton Gallery before the lockdown, and there was a big, beautiful sculpture, and they're encouraging you to take drawings from that. You know, it was a really nice project. But then, so it depends on what you're doing with the drawing, and because if you were then starting to sell the drawing of the sculpture, you know, there is a line there with it being, if it was like a representational exact copy of the sculpture, you know, you would want to go to the artist. I would. This is me, and share that, because they might already have drawings. This is what you need to check. They might already have drawings of their sculptures that they're selling. So, but, you know, if you're using them to improve and it's part of your process, then that's absolutely fine. I'm just starting out and have my own themes. These are not, oh, sorry, I should have read the whole comment, shouldn't I? So these are not for sale. I will state to the photographer. Yeah. So if they're not for sale, it's fine. But still, even if something isn't for sale, if you have produced another person's artwork, you know, give them the credit, which you've just said that you'll do. So, yeah, this thing about differences, if the work is, yeah, again, that one's a grey area. If the work is different, so if you can tell that the artwork derived from that other person's artwork, then it's still a breach of copyright. Say you've just changed the colours, it's still not enough to make that your own. So yeah, there's it used to be said that if you had like 5 or 7 differences, then that would count as okay, but it still doesn't work like that, because it would have to be you know, looking at that artwork, if there was any doubt that it came from that person's artwork, then it would, you know, breach the copyright. But again, it's such a grey area, because then if that artist could prove that they'd actually taken inspiration from other places, then it wouldn't be a breach of copyright. So yeah, it's a grey area, and you know, and I'm not a legal person, so I don't know the ins and outs, but it boils down to, you know, I feel like when you see an artwork and you take inspiration from it, if you have copied someone and you copied exactly how they do it, maybe change the colours, you know, that is a breach of copyright. And so just check the copyright on that image. And if you're unsure, then don't use it, is what I would say. And also, then if you do take principles of that and adapt other things from another inspiration and colours and another image, and you've started to change it, then that is moving away from that image. That's becoming your own. So so Chrissy's saying, so if we have shared our work in the hub and we want, and then it stops, so I don't know what that was. I'll come back to that, Chrissy, if you've got something to ask. Scott's asking about pricing, which is a massive, massive topic. But if you've got your first exhibition coming up and you don't know how to price, what I would do is check the location of where you're having your exhibition, because your pricing needs to be in line with where you're putting your work. That's one factor. There's many factors that affect pricing, such as how much it costs you to make and making sure that you've covered your costs and things like that. But also where you're putting your work will have a big impact on how you price it, because you need to know what kind of people are going to that exhibition, and that will affect your pricing. But if you're first starting out, it's getting your pricing based on your materials, your time, and getting going, and then finding where it's going is what I would say. But it's a massive topic. So many things affect pricing, but that's a quick answer. So thank you so much, everybody. I'll write this up and it will be going out in a blog post towards the end of the week. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. If you're a Hub member, I'll be live in the Hub group on Thursday, and we'll be having a bit of a critique week. So giving feedback on artwork. And so anyway, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you all next week. Take care. Bye.